less of a hassle, to making war easier, and to making ending war a harder thing. We have made a lot of changes, and I don't think it was a conspiracy. I love conspiracy theories, but I don't have one about this. We made decisions, understandable, actually in some cases even reasonable political decisions, reasonable in light of whatever the short-term political constraints were at the time. We made a bunch of political decisions that reduced the associated political friction of what it would mean to use force. And so we now have ways to use force that are essentially frictionless for those of us who are not fighting. War is still as much hell as it has ever been for the people who are downrange, for the people who are actually there. But here at home, war is not that big a deal for us. We are a country at war right now. We are in the middle of the longest war we have ever fought as a country. And simultaneously, for 8.5 years of the 10+ years that we have been fighting in Afghanistan, we were simultaneously fighting another war in Iraq too. Has it felt like we are a country at war? We feel like we are a country that has sent its military to war. And personally, in terms of why I decided to write the book, I feel as much for the guy who puts the dumb magnetic yellow ribbon on his SUV as I do for the person, in the bike lane next to them cursing the dumb magnetic yellow ribbon on the SUV. I actually think that both sentiments come from the same place. Both sentiments come from a desire for us as civilians to feel more connected to these wars that are being fought in our name. And they are being fought by less than 1% of the population. And while there is always a divide between those fighting and those at home, we have not previously been a country that would, do what we did to ourselves as civilians once we started these wars. A few weeks before 9/11, we gave ourselves one of the biggest tax cuts in American history, a multi-trillion-dollar tax cut. And then 9/11 happened, and then we immediately invaded Afghanistan and started a war in Afghanistan. There was never any discussion about giving back that tax cut. But more incredibly to me is that within a couple of years, we were about to start a second simultaneous major land war in Iraq. And just a few weeks before we started that land war in Iraq, when we frankly all knew that we were about to do it, we gave ourselves the second round of tax cuts. The second round of Bush tax cuts. And that is not a symptom of a country that feels that it is going to war. So, in any case, I think it's not who we were supposed to be as a country. I think that sort of change, that we don't feel it even as our wars get longer and longer and longer and more numerous, is something that brings with it moral hazard to us as a country. So I think we at least ought to debate it. My greatest hope for this book is that that we start seeing this feeling that we've got, that I think a lot of people left, right, and center, and even people who don't care about politics at all, this personal feeling that we've got, which is related to guilt, but not exactly the same, the sense of disconnect that we've got with these wars being fought. My greatest hope is that that personal feeling that I think a lot of people feel, no matter what their politics, becomes defined as a political problem. Becomes defined as something that is wrong in the country that we need to start talking about ways to fix. And I have, at the very end of the book, I have a few ideas for policy changes that I think could make a difference in terms of changing it around, but more than following those policy prescriptions, I would like this drift that we've been through, this sense of the American public becoming disconnected from our national security politics. I would like that to become something that we fight over how to fix. And I fully expect that debate will be raucous and there will be lots of different sides in it, but that's what makes for good, productive, robust debates where the bad arguments lose and the good arguments win, and we need more of those. So that's what the book is about, and I'd be happy to take your questions, and I'm really grateful that you're all here. How do we do